Welcome, everyone, to this episode of your Freedom Hub's Accelerating Financial Freedom, an exciting time to find out how to take back control of all of your money and to understand actually how money works, which is really the main problem that you've got. We do want you to understand we are being sponsored by the Marketplace for Health, Wealth, and Freedom, which is located here at the acronym of mphwf.com. You never want to miss an episode, so we've created a special bit.ly you can get to. It's case sensitive, but just pop right over there. You'll get to see everything on all of the different channels we operate. We have a great guest today, Sam Pizzione Jr. He is the founder of Debt Network Academy, and we're continuing our series on understanding money and how there's tools available for you right now to get control of what's going on in your world. When you pop over to that home site, you'll find there's a cavalcade of things to learn all about, but there's a special place within here that Sam resides. So with that in mind, let's flick over and find out where he hides out and what he's got in store for us today.
Okay, Jeff. Well, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate being part of Health, Wealth, Freedom. It's a great website, mphwf.com/wealth. And today's topic, we're going to discuss the advantages of your tax-free residence. And why not make your home the start of a tax-free retirement plan? How easy is it? Can anyone do it? You know, it's the least amount of benefit talked about and discussed by CPAs, financial planners. Everyone's focused on 401k, IRA, but yet there are tax advantages owning a home, specifically to people who are renting because they feel they can't afford a home. And you don't have to get a big home, you just have to get one. And if you start with one, I'm going to show you how we rolled over tax-free numerous times since 1994 when we came to Hilton Head. And in addition to that, we're going to talk about why is real estate investment income a great way to get tax advantages, and let the renters pay down your investment mortgages in less than 10 years. Now, I know that sounds bizarre, but it is feasible using an advanced technology that we use. Okay, so, you know, I've spent 47 years in, it's hard to even imagine that, but I've been through every aspect of financial planning, including working for Merrill Lynch in the 90s. And then basically I found that I made a number of mistakes myself, even though I thought I was a guru, and I made many mistakes, especially in 2008 and 9, when you remember we had a fallout in the banking industry, which also followed with the stock market. So let's take a look at some of the challenges that people face. This is basically a survey that reported employees reported the most important aspects of struggling with money. It was actually done in 2019 by the International Foundation of Employee Benefit Plans. And you'll notice the first two are debt and retirement savings, two of the most difficult things that people struggle with. And there's a few others. In fact, at this chart, I'd like to ask Jeff, what do you think about this chart?
Well, you know, you can see it's fairly obvious. I mean, if you don't have kids, or if you have one kid or four kids, you know, that children's education bar could be all over the map. Basic living expenses, you know, seemingly how much can I influence what my electric bill is unless I switch, you know, I'm in a deregulated state and I switch and I save $1. So I don't really have much impact on that bar. Debt, that's a tough one because, you know, I need a lot of things. And then obviously retirement is something I need to build for. So really the only one of this whole list where you really have some actual control these days is on the medical. And what's brought that to the fore, Sam, is the fact that a lot of people have seen the cost of health insurance escalate to a point where it's even more expensive than a mortgage. And in reality, now there's a variety of options, from as simplistic as having a concierge or a direct primary care physician, someone you pay a monthly fee, and you've got a doctor, which could be as little as like $50 a month instead of $1,500 for health insurance. Or there's medical cost sharing, or there's different versions of short-term insurance, or other tools you can make use of. So that's a bar that realistically, Sam, you know, if you're helping them in other ways, and you want to accelerate them getting that debt and that retirement going, this is an area they can address and maybe cut that bar in half.
Well, that sounds really exciting. In fact, the software we use in our 90-day course, we can implement those savings and plug them in and see how valuable they are and how they can affect the debt and retirement savings.
Yeah, I would say you could probably double check for that particular client, what they would qualify for, or what could maybe be a good fit, and see what a lower priced item might be to get them the same results. I'm worried if I end up in the hospital. Well, if I can do the same thing for half the price, why would I not? And if you find that they can immediately make that savings, you can turn right around, plug it into the system, and show them how much faster it would accelerate getting out of debt.
Yeah, well, that sounds real interesting, and we definitely have to explore that. Let's take a look at the residence taxation on gains. There is none up to $500,000 for a couple and $250,000 for a single owner. What does that mean? Well, if you bought a home for $200,000 and 10 years later you sold it for $350,000, the $150,000 is tax-free, and you can roll that into another residence, or you can just take it tax-free. And a lot of people don't realize how effective that can be because they don't know how to manage their cash flow and utilize rental income to grow their personal wealth, retirement, and more. So let's take a quick look. In 1978, we purchased a condo. We lived in New Jersey. I had friends down here in Hilton Head. Two of them were realtors, obviously, and we flipped these. And I did check each of these two homes that are across the street from the ocean. These are condos. One was a 2-bedroom, one was a 3. But look at this. Since 1978, the gain right now, the value today is $415,000. If I would have kept those and let the rental pay the mortgage, and then as I increased in value, I could have refinanced. But today, it's worth $415,000. That's a gain of $370,000, and I would only have to pay 20%. In an IRA or a 401k, you're paying whatever bracket you're in, and it doesn't mean you're going to be in the lowest bracket when you retire. Not if you've built other assets. And so in 81, we did the same thing. We flipped that one. We bought another one. That one's worth $435,000. So think about what I did wrong. I didn't realize it. I was flipping real estate like stock. That's what I was, a stockbroker back then. But if I would have just kept it instead of the realtor pushing me to sell it and get another one, because that's how they make their money, think about it. That's $746,000 of capital gains at 20%. But that's if I sell them. It doesn't mean I'm going to sell them because there's a 1031 exchange opportunity where you can flip rental properties and keep growing it until you decide to cash in. And even when you cash in, it's still only 20%. Pretty interesting. So let's talk about the residence challenge. This is a tax-free. So in 98, we bought a home for $255,000. Now we had sold it in 2003, and we sold it for $365,000, and we bought a new one. But look, in 2018, that same house sold for $459,000, and now I just looked up, its value is $549,000. The $365,000 that we bought, and we didn't pay any tax, by the way. We rolled over the tax-free gain. There is no tax on a residence. But that in 2006 was worth $495,000. It's now worth $639,000. And in 2006, after we sold 2003, we bought a bigger home. We built a bigger home, personally built it with some contractors we knew. It was $789,000 in 2008. It's now worth $1.1 million. Of course, we went through that 2008-9 debacle, so we had to dump that house. But it's now worth $1.1 million. So look at the tax-free gains. This is really exciting stuff, and up to $500,000. So if you don't mind moving, like we didn't, of course, we live on Hilton Head, so it's only 12 miles by 4 miles, and you can move from one end of the island to the other. But it's still important to understand that getting a home for those people renting homes because they feel they can't afford it, we need to start helping them. And our software program can actually help people that are renting get a home within less than 2 years. So keep in mind that up to $500,000 tax-free for a couple on a residence, or if it becomes investment property, you're only paying capital gains. Now, I'm not trying to be a CPA. These are facts, and obviously you can check with your CPA, but it is really interesting to take a look at this. So here's something really exciting. I don't know what age bracket everyone is that are watching this, but back in 1970, if you want to take a quick guess, when I got into this business, I was actually trained how to sell tax shelters in oil and gas. And I worked with a company, a developer, builder, and also a driller in West Virginia and Ohio. And the stripper wells were doing 30 to 50 barrels a day, and you share in that revenue. But look at the tax, 70% earning a married couple filing only $200,000 of income. Our target audience was the medical doctors. They were investing $25,000 to $50,000 to get tax credits. Unbelievable. Well, if you're going to pay 70% on 200 grand, you would be looking for tax credits also, because a tax credit is against what you owe. And in a lot of cases, they invested 50 and didn't have to pay any tax. Now let's move along in the 80s. And we had a lot of changes happen, and there was a president that came along in 1981, and this happened to be in 1984, he adjusted the tax brackets down to 50%, and look at the bracket at 169 versus 70. Unbelievable. And this started to help middle America start to realize that they could earn good money, anywhere from 25 to 50, 100,000, and pay less tax than they would have paid over here on this side, on this 1974. Now let's take a look at the Trump era, and this is 2019. We're now up to maximum 37% on 622. Imagine if you made 622 as a doctor in 1974 and you had to pay above that 70%. It's just beyond. However, I think it's important to realize we can't control the future tax brackets. We can't. No one can. So it's interesting to look at tax-free alternatives, such as your residence or even capital gains tax, because of this. So why is real estate income a great way to get tax advantages? You know, there are tax advantages without the IRA, you know, depreciation and all the other things that CPAs are good at doing. And if you use this advanced technology software, we can do this ourselves. It's unbelievable how, and I have clients doing exactly this. They're growing their real estate investment property right on Hilton Head. One of them's up to 3 properties in less than 3 years. So if you complete one of our worksheets, we don't have a fee for you to look and see if you are eligible, and we can show you how to qualify if you're interested in doing this. So remember these tax brackets, because when you say that I'm putting in a tax deductible 401k and I'm going to have 500,000 at age 70, you have to realize the tax brackets could be 50% and possibly 70. So it's good to have an alternative, and that's where the tax-free investments really do help. So how's this strategy for retirement? If you were able over 20 years, let's say you were 45 years old or 50, and in 20 years you could build an income stream of $21,000 a month, that's impossible. Now this is just using $225,000 properties, and you really only need 15 to 20% down. And once you do that, you can get money from your one property, move it to the other. But how do you manage all that cash flow? And that's the key to our 90-day course, because we can show you how, in conjunction with the software, that you can do that. That's over $3.5 million of equity in 20 years. something you ought to look at, and it's really interesting because I do have clients on this. So let's take a look. If you had 10 debts, let's just say you had 10 properties, and you were trying to juggle which one to pay first, which one to pay next. Do you pay it on the first? Do you pay it on the 15th? This is factorial math. This is exactly what our advanced software is designed around. It would take, if you had 10 properties, it would take 3,628,800 choices to find out which one to pay, when to pay, how much to pay, to get them all to zero in 10 years. You can't use a calculator, and no disrespect, but no financial planner and CPA can do it either unless they are using this advanced technology. So recall, 20 years, you could actually do this. Hard to imagine, but I'd like to give you a challenge that if you fill out our worksheet, and we basically have a personal workshop, we can show you, we can help you find money. And Jeff even indicated if you were interested in exploring or comparing what your own health insurance is, there are programs now that I was not aware of, but they're saving hundreds of dollars a month. And we can show you how to allocate those dollars into a software and possibly begin to buy some real estate. Let's take a look at Beaufort County. This is our backyard, as we call it. The demand for rentals. In fact, my wife works for a real estate broker, and he is 18% above last year's production, and we're already into November, and we've had a pandemic. We are getting people coming down here, not only to live, but to invest their money, because look at this. Overall, we need 3,100 additional rental units in our county over the next 5 years. And this was a study done by the county in 2019. Even when we have 2,000 housing units in the development pipeline, there's still a huge demand for rental income. Imagine if you were buying one-bedroom apartments, or condos rather, for less than $200,000 and renting them for $1,200 a month and letting them pay the mortgage off. And in 10 years, you'd own that outright, and the cash flow would just keep cycling and cycling. So if you take our DNA financial course over 90 days, see if you can take advantage of this demand. And we can help you do this if you'd like, or you can do it in your backyard also. So just to reiterate, okay, what we like to do is we have a simple DNA worksheet. We can help you analyze your debt, your retirement savings, whether you have it or not, even your overhead. There's a budget system internally in the software. And we take your basic living expenses, and we can show you how to add in the medical expenses. When you take all of that cash flow, you don't know where to start. Let us help you do that. You really don't even need to make a decision to take the course, because our analysis, which is 1 hour, you fill out the form, is totally free. You get 1 hour to see where you are and where you're going. So let's add another little aspect here. What if you're under age 59 and a half and you could increase your income without the 10% penalty in an IRA? What does that mean? Well, it's interesting that the tax code of the IRA back in 1978 or 9, the 72T allows a person, no matter what age. When I was at Merrill Lynch, I was rolling over 100, 200,000 from retirement plans. When they lost their job, they were engineers, and they lost their job. They rolled it over with Merrill Lynch, but they couldn't take the money. They were 45 years old. Well, income is very important, because that's how you qualify for mortgages. I've done over a dozen of these in the last 15 years, helping clients and friends. So you should look at something like this. If you have an IRA and it's a rollover and it's sitting in stocks or bonds, and I'm not saying you should get out of that, but you can actually get income. So what's the point of that? Well, 72T, okay, is not often disclosed by planners. I often wondered why, because I did the research back in 1991 when I was with Merrill, and I found out through their tax department that yes, this is legal to do. So think about this. If you're 55, well, if you take money out of an IRA at 55, which is not 59 and a half, you're going to pay $10,000 in penalty and add the whole 100,000 on your income. You don't want to do that. Okay, but you could get, look at this, 300,000 at 3% would generate $1,290 a month with no penalty, and you can actually stop the income after 5 years. You must take it for 5. We've helped people that came to Hilton Head, they rolled over a pension. They were 51, one was 55, one was 49, and they didn't have any income. And so the banks will use a 72T income stream qualifying. So imagine if you could do this and take advantage of other condos, purchasing other condos. 300,000 would, you could buy a 300,000 a mortgage of 1290 a month. So now you are paying income tax, but you're not paying the penalty, and you're not paying income on 300,000 because you're only taking income. So think about that. We have a software program integrated with our software that can show you, if you have a rollover, how this would work. Now, if you combine Section IRA 72 and you qualify for buying investment rental property, this is a multiplier beyond your imagination. I've done a number of these for particular clients who took our course, and what has resulted in just multiplication of retirement money they never expected to have. So take advantage of the advanced technology for managing up to 15 properties at the same time if you wanted to use real estate as an alternative investment property. Again, I encourage all of you to complete a DNA worksheet. You can send it to us, and then we will provide an analysis of your numbers, not hypotheticals. Here it is again, 21,000 a month in 20 years. It's possible. It could be even more than that. Now, you might say, I don't want to manage rental property. Well, rental companies down here manage properties for about 18%, and I've redone numbers. The math still works, and you don't even have to touch it. Not only do you have to touch it, they have backup people wanting to rent your property. This is very exciting to do. So, Jeff, let's just recap of what we've done in the past few weeks and where we'll be going next week.
Definitely an awful lot there to dig into and unpack. And as you can see, we've just added to the mix here because in the past weeks, if you look at our schedule, and all these are available up on that website that you see at the top of the screen there. Back in September, we started it all out when we began to learn about what is your money. And here's a great little question, because if walls could talk, everyone knows that expression. But if your money could talk to you and tell you, hey, no, don't spend me here, spend me over here, do this, don't do that, you'd probably pay attention because you're living your entire life based on your money and your cash flow. Then we shifted gears. We started talking about the realities of amortization schedules, how those really work, what the bank has in store for you, and what you might think, your options really are, but what they're going to really make happen for you. And then savings choices and investments. A real biggie was the one we did in October and the 16th about credit scores and try to take Social Security early. Again, big quandaries, but the credit score one was really, really killer. And then obviously the 29th we did today was about the idea of having a tax-free residence. And of course, everyone keeps thinking in retirement about, winning the lottery or having some pension fund. And like a lot of people think, oh, I got to have that 401k. And now we're going to really shift gears come next week. So let's go back to our main site. Let's take a peek at how you'll find out about that stuff. Okay, and here you find yourself at the Wealth tab now, and you scroll on down there a little bit, and you'll certainly see the idea of the importance of having a map and understanding where you need to go. But now we'll talk about, the classes and the lessons we're teaching, and now we're going to talk about that free DNA analysis. So keep going down there a little bit, and let's take a look. So you'll read it. There's a lot to see. You get there and whoa, look where it says click here for a free analysis. That's the most important part of tonight's event and any evening because you really need to find out for yourself. And again, it's 100% free. Don't need any social security numbers, no account numbers, no names of accounts. We just need the math. I owe $10,000 at 8% interest for X amount of months. The system will be able to work on that. That's all it cares about. Now you notice there's a PDF that pops up. It's a fillable type where you just type in all your information and you want to fill in as much as you can. For lender name, you could say mortgage company. You don't need the name of the place. You just type in everything that you need in all the key columns. Something should be in every column. And you get to the bottom. And when you get all the way to the bottom, you put in your household net income. How much do I myself, or if I got a spouse, let's say, what do we make? And then most importantly, you get a pretty good guess because we'll figure it out for real. But you'll take a good guess how much money if you pay your mortgage and your car note and your electric bill and food and everything you do. You went out for pizza after everything. How much money's left at the end of the month? You type that in there, and then you just hit the submit button, and then you're going to get all of this information plugged completely into the system, and it's going to be able to show you in a minute how much you owe, how many years you're planning to take to pay that off based on the trajectory you've been on, and if you implement this very simplistic system, how fast you'll get out of that debt and how quickly you'll be able to have money built up in a bank account or buying property like Sam was showing, and all of that's free. Then you're able to even take it out for a test drive if it sounds pretty good, which I got news for you, like everybody does. You'll take it out for a test drive, and if you're like most people, about halfway through the test drive, you'll say, I'm ready. Let's get this thing going because I not only want to get out of debt, but I want to build wealth. And that was never going to be even within my reach. My goal was just to become debt free. So this is a great,
Right.
great tool, Sam.
Okay, and I just want to mention one thing. The minimum monthly discretion, and everybody has $100 a month. All the ones and analyses that I've done over the last 4.5 years, you really just need $100 or as little as $25. I know that sounds crazy, but I have found that the minimum that people find is $100 a month. I have some at $1,000 a month, but there's two incomes, et cetera. So